Hey y'all, welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Chef Kaleigh, your Southern comfort meets kind of fancy chef. Today we're making something super indulgent, a crème brûlée cheesecake. It's silky, creamy, and has that iconic caramelized sugar on top. Basically, it's two desserts and one having a delicious baby, and we're here for it. We're going to start with the crust. Super simple, graham crackers, and a secret, I also use vanilla wafers. I measure all my ingredients in grams so I can be more precise. Here we're adding melted butter to our crushed cookies and sugar mixture, and then we're going to mix it all together until it looks like beach sand. It should look dry and wet at the same time. Now I'm just going to continue mixing until it's the right texture. Now I'm pushing all of this mixture down into the bottom of a springform pan, and I prepped it with some parchment paper at the bottom just so everything doesn't stick. You want to get a nice even layer all along the bottom. Then we're going to bake that for about 10 minutes at 350 degrees, and then we're going to let it cool while we work on our filling. This is where the magic happens. We're going to start by adding our cornstarch into our sugar mixture. Here I'm about to pour my vanilla into my heavy cream just to go ahead and get that all mixed up. We can set that aside to use later. Here I'm adding in my cream cheese, and I'm going to go ahead and mix that all up before I add my sugar just to get it all smoothed out. Now I'm adding my sugar and cornstarch to the mix, and I'm just going to mix until it's all smooth, no lumps. You want to stop and scrape your bowl often just to ensure that you get everything mixed from the sides and on the bottom. Here I am scraping just to ensure everything gets mixed in evenly. When everything looks nice and smooth, we can start adding in our eggs, just a little bit at a time. You don't want to do it all at once or your mixture might break, which means it might get clumpy and weird. Again, you want to stop and scrape your bowl often just to make sure everything is nice and incorporated. And here's my last addition of my eggs. And when we're done with that, we can add in our heavy cream and our vanilla. This mixture should be smooth and silky. Look at that, beautiful. After this, you want to put that mixture in a bowl and set aside and clean your bowl out. Now we're going to add in those egg whites, and then we're going to whip those until they're nice and foamy. When they're foamy, we're going to start adding in our sugar, and we're going to do that consistently and slowly just to ensure everything gets mixed in correctly. This is called a meringue, and we're going to whip this until it begins to form a medium peak. That means that little curly Q at the bottom will flop over, but it won't fold over. Now we're adding in the meringue into our cheesecake mixture in 2 additions, half of it first and half of it second. You want to fold gently so you don't lose all the air bubbles you're incorporating. You want to mix until you don't see any more white streaks. Now we're pouring our mixture into our pre-prepared springform pan. I like to wrap mine in foil just so I make sure that the water doesn't get into the pan. We're going to cook this in a water bath at about 300 degrees for about 60 to 70 minutes. You want to make sure the center of the cake will jiggle, but it won't be loose. When it comes out of the oven, you want to make sure it cools completely in the water bath, and then you have to let it sit overnight. I know it's hard waiting, but that creamy texture is so worth it. Now I use my torch to get it out afterwards, just to loosen everything up on the sides. I also like to use my torch to get my knife nice and hot so that it cuts easily through my cake. I thought that while I was doing this, my cake was right in the middle of the camera, but it wasn't, so sorry about that. Now here's the moment we've been waiting for. We grab a handful of sugar, and then we sprinkle a nice even layer all over the top. Now we're going to use that torch to caramelize the sugar until it's golden and brown and glossy. Don't rush it, you can't rush perfection. It makes that crackle on top wonderful. And there it is. We're going to do it one more time because my kids wanted a slice too. So here I am, I'm sprinkling a nice even coat of sugar over the top. And then I'm going to use my torch and I'm going to make that crackle. The smell at this point is divine. Look at that beauty. I like to put mine with a little bit of strawberry just because I feel like that flavor goes really good together. If you did this right, you should be able to tap the top and hear that crack. That's the good stuff. Creamy cheesecake, caramelized topping. It's everything you love in a good dessert. If you love this creme brulee cheesecake, give this video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and let me know in the comments what dessert you want to see next. Until then, stay sweet and cozy, my friends. Bye, y'all.